Hi there, everybody. Welcome to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Monday, March 8th. Thanks for choosing to be here to get filled in on the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Also, today is International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. Remember, today is a day where we can think about the fact that a rising tide lifts all ships. So let's all support one another, support our choices, support our ambitions, and support our successes, and also remember that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to representation across the board. And one person who was definitely not feeling the international love is Meghan Markle. That bombshell interview with Oprah Winfrey, with her and Prince Harry yesterday, everyone's talking about that. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But first, let's talk about what's happening in Minnesota today. There are some moves getting underway in the trial of Derek Chauvin over the killing of George Floyd, which, if you remember, that happened in May. We saw that very difficult to watch video of the officer kneeling on George Floyd's neck for a significant amount of time, him losing his life. And so some steps are being taken now in Minnesota, but what we are now seeing is that the jury selection will be delayed until at least tomorrow in the case. The prosecution is asking the Minnesota Court of Appeals to put it on hold because there's a question about whether an additional charge will be added, a third-degree murder charge, and the prosecution would like to have an answer to that before the jury selection goes forward. There are also activist groups that are marching in downtown Minneapolis today. We are covering all of this. It's on WKYC.com, and we have coverage coming from our Minneapolis station, so you're getting really what's happening on the ground there. Now, the judge in the case has said that he is committed to beginning jury selection tomorrow unless he's ordered to stop. Now, this isn't the beginning of the actual trial portion of the trial. This is very procedural at this point. The judge has said that he wants opening statements to start no earlier than March 29th. So today, they'll be handling any motions that both sides agree that they can handle ahead of time. Potentially jury selection tomorrow, and opening statements no earlier than March 29th. And of course, we'll keep you updated all along the way. Now, here in Ohio today, big news from Governor Mike DeWine during his press conference, really opening up the people who are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine as of this Thursday. So last Thursday, he opened up eligibility to more people with certain illnesses and certain conditions, and also Ohioans 60 and older. Well, this Thursday, he's expanding that even more. What he's calling Phase 1D means that people that have type 2 diabetes and end-stage renal disease will be eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. And he's also opening up what he's calling Phase 2B. So Ohioans who are 50 years old and older will be eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine starting on Thursday. Again, opening that up to a lot of Ohioans. Now, this comes as the CDC has issued new guidance on what vaccinated people can do and what they should avoid in order to comply with the CDC's guidance on stopping the spread of COVID-19. Here's what you should know that they've said. They've said fully vaccinated people can visit with other fully vaccinated people inside without wearing masks or social distancing. So we're talking about everyone in this equation is fully vaccinated according to the CDC. Now, fully vaccinated people can also visit with unvaccinated people from a single household who are at low risk for severe disease, also without wearing a mask or social distancing. So now we're talking about fully vaccinated people and unvaccinated people who are at low risk from a single household. And fully vaccinated people do not, according to the CDC, need to quarantine after a known exposure to COVID-19 if they're not having symptoms. However, the CDC does say it is still important to wear a mask that fits you well and to keep that 6-foot physical distance in public and to avoid medium to large size gatherings. Now, the CDC defines fully vaccinated to mean that you have had at least 2 weeks pass since either your second dose of the 2-dose vaccines that are out right now, that's Moderna and Pfizer, or the single-dose vaccine from Johnson & Johnson. 2 weeks past your last vaccination dose that's required. Now let's take a look at the latest numbers for COVID-19 across the globe and across the U.S. These numbers come from Johns Hopkins University. Globally, the total number of COVID cases is now at 117,021,144, and the total number of COVID deaths is now at 2,596,877. Now, the U.S. has 4% of the global population, but we are leading the cases and leading the deaths by a wide margin, though the percentage has dropped just a bit over the weekend. At the end of the week, they were a little bit higher. So right now, the U.S. has 24.8% of the COVID cases. That's down 0.2 percentage points. And 20.2% of the COVID deaths. That's down 1/10 of a percentage point. Here in the U.S., there have been a total of 29,013,283 reported COVID cases and a total of 525,312 reported COVID deaths. Now let's take a look at the Ohio numbers. These come in from the Ohio Department of Health. Out today, we saw 1,254 new reported cases of COVID in the last 24 hours. Now that's up from yesterday, but yesterday was a very low number comparatively speaking to what we've seen. It was 735 yesterday, so up a bit from yesterday. And in terms of the percentage of tests that are coming back positive, on Saturday, there were about 23,000 COVID-19 tests done in Ohio, and 3.4% of those came back positive, so about 769 positives on Saturday. The 7-day average overall is at 3%. Both of those numbers, thankfully, below the World Health Organization's recommended threshold of 5%. Now, we do know that Ohio has changed the way it's calculating COVID-19 deaths. It's no longer reporting probable deaths, only confirmed deaths, and only with a death certificate. So we'll get those numbers twice a week, and we do not have those numbers today. In the last 24 hours, there have been 84 new hospitalizations reported, and there are a total of 830 people currently in the hospital being treated for COVID. And of those 830 people, 244 of them are being treated in the intensive care unit. And we've seen 16 new ICU admissions in the last 24 hours. Looking at the vaccination picture, across the state of Ohio, about 9.7% of our population is totally vaccinated. That's about 1.1 million Ohioans. And almost 25,200 newly fully completed vaccinations in the last day. And in terms of the people who have started the vaccination process, again, if you're getting that 2-shot COVID-19 vaccine, about 2 million people have started the process in Ohio. So that's a little over 17% of our population. So slowly but surely getting those vaccinations done across the state of Ohio. Now, to exercise the most caution, the 2021 Cleveland Marathon has been postponed again due to COVID-19. It was also postponed last year in May. It did not happen in person, so they're postponing it this time to the fall with the hopes of having it in person. It was scheduled for May 15th and 16th. Now, there's no new date set in stone just yet because the marathon organizers want to wait until the football schedule comes out, the NFL football schedule comes out, to make sure that they don't schedule the Cleveland Marathon on the same day as a home Browns game, which is a good idea for a number of reasons, probably for everyone involved. Now, here are the options that are being offered. The Cleveland Marathon will offer these following options to the people who had registered for the 2020 marathon and deferred to 2021. So if you registered for 2020 and you had to push that registration to 2021, here are your options. You can participate in a virtual event that's either happening in May or the fall. So there will be virtual events both in May and in the fall. Or you can participate in the 2021 in-person race, which is happening in the fall. Or you can defer to the 2022 race. That right now is scheduled for May 21st and 22nd in 2022. Now, if you weren't registered for the 2020 race last year that got pushed this year, but you did register for this year's 2021 race, here are your options. You can do one of the virtual events, either in May or in the fall, or you can participate in the 2021 in-person event that's happening in the fall. So you don't get an option to defer again if you registered for the 2021. The thought process there probably being that you kind of knew that this was a up-in-the-air situation. And registration for the in-person marathon has been temporarily paused, but you can still register for the virtual events if you want to take place in either the May or the fall virtual events. Now, let's talk about something that happened over the weekend. Legendary Cleveland rocker and radio personality Michael Stanley passed away at the age of 72. So, if you grew up in the Northeast Ohio area, Michael Stanley and his Michael Stanley Band are probably something that was the soundtrack to you growing up in the area. Well, on Friday, his former manager and best friend David Sparrow confirmed to 3 News that he passed away in his sleep at the age of 72, and he spent the last 30 plus years, being the afternoon drive radio jockey for WNCX 98.5, and he wrote a letter to his listeners. Michael Stanley wrote a letter to his listeners because he had been battling, unbeknownst to a lot of people, lung cancer for the past 7 months. And so, less than 2 hours after his death was announced, the radio station shared that letter. Here's what Michael Stanley said. If you're reading this, then I am off to catch up with that big club tour in the sky. He thanked his family, friends, coworkers, and supporters for being a part of his musical journey, and he ended with his famous catchphrase, "It's your world, pay attention." And then he also said that somebody once said, if you love your job, then it's not really work, and if that's true, and I definitely think it is, then I have been happily out of work for over 50 years. Rest in peace to Michael Stanley. He will be missed on the airwaves here in Cleveland and the Northeast Ohio area. Now to that big bombshell interview that everyone has been talking about with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle with Oprah Winfrey. It was a 2-hour interview. It aired Sunday night here. It's airing tonight in the UK, and there were a lot of jaw-dropping bombshell moments. Meghan Markle revealed to Oprah that she had suicidal thoughts while living under the royal strictness that she had to live under after marrying Prince Harry. She said there was a moment where she just didn't want to be alive anymore, and she said that she was naive at the start of her relationship with Harry and was unprepared for the strictness of royal life. And she said she sought the palace's help through the human resources department, but was told there was nothing that they could do for the mental health issues that she was experiencing. Another bombshell from the interview, Meghan, who is biracial, said that when she was pregnant with their son Archie, who will be 2 in May, that there was a conversation about how dark his skin might be when he's born. And Harry confirmed that conversation, saying that he was a bit shocked, but neither of them would say who specifically made the comment. Now, Harry said that his wife's experiences helped him realize how him and the rest of his family were stuck in an oppressive situation. He said, I was trapped, but I didn't know I was trapped. He said, my father and my brother, they are trapped. And Harry said that Meghan helped save him. We have more from that interview up on WKYC.com, but one other revelation that came from that interview, Meghan is pregnant with their second child, and she revealed that they are having a baby girl this summer. That's when she's due, is this summer. Harry said that it's amazing, and he's just grateful, and to have a boy and a girl is really all you could ask for in the interview. So this obviously will be their second child after son Archie, who turns 2 on May 2nd. We have a lot more coverage on that on WKYC.com, so make sure you check that out. And that's it for your 3 News Now update for Monday, March 8th. I'll see you next up on What's New with your trending stories in the Clicking in Cleveland segment, and I will see you back here tomorrow for more 3 News Now. Enjoy your afternoon. Take advantage of this beautiful sunshine that we're seeing, at least here in downtown Cleveland. And between now and then, everyone stay safe and be well. I'm Stephanie Haney.